So, hi, it's Monique,
And this is Paige.
and we're Sacred Potential, where we talk about the overlap of faith, creativity, and possibility. And today, we're talking about God in the movies, or God at the movies, or
God and his relationship with popcorn.
or finding God in film,
Yeah,
whichever one you like, but we have to pick one to put on the title. So
exactly. And this is a very interesting conversation because actually we should have been recording right before this because Mo and I were really going deep in terms of some films that I actually have yet become familiar with, but now I'm really excited about seeing. And so we'll definitely, because this is essentially going to be like what, just kind of like
taster.
like an appetizer,
Yeah,
a bit of an
yeah.
appetizer, and then we'll like flesh it out, and we'll have like a full bouquet and what?
A buffet or a
Well,
bouquet?
yeah, okay. I was thinking, what, I don't know why I was thinking bouquet, but buffet is
Like
probably
a bouquet for the wine.
exactly. This is
yeah.
what I was
Oh, the
thinking.
bouquet
Yeah,
of the wine
yeah, but
is going to be very flavorful.
yeah, exactly. Just so that we can get deeper in terms of, because we have like another thing that we want to do later on. But yeah, enough about that. Mo, can you like? I want to like kind of talk more about like some of the stuff that we were talking about before we hit record.
Yeah, so we're just going to talk about some films that have really moved us, film, TV, show, anything we've seen that
Yeah.
just is film related, that's on film. Films that really not necessarily overtly convey faith,
Yeah.
but where there's just elements of that in the film, or that has stirred us in a certain way or made us think about God, think about how God is present. Just, yeah. So basically just films that can stir that, some overt, some not so overt.
Yeah, because you know, just kind of I get it. I don't know if it's a bit of a disclaimer. I mean, you kind of just said it already. We're not necessarily here to talk so much about overt Christian films.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
no.
yeah. That's not really.
There may be a couple mentioned.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, but it's
definitely not the mainstream kind.
Exactly. And so one of the first ones that you have on your list.
First one that always comes to mind for me is Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
The entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, all 9 hours, and maybe extra 3 hours of footage. But just because everything in those films is depicting everything that's the life of faith, you know, faith, hope, love, courage, friendship, humility, people laying down their lives for each other, people being willing to lay down their lives for each other, people taking risks for each other, and the fact that there's this major thing that has to happen, which is disposing of the ring. And in order for that to happen, how they each play a part in that happening, and it affects the entire Middle Earth. Like if Frodo doesn't go do this, or somebody doesn't go do it, then Middle Earth will be destroyed and taken over by darkness. So
If they don't destroy the ring?
yeah.
Very
And so the whole thing is you know, I mean, people that have seen Lord of the Rings are like, we know. But
meanwhile, I haven't. It's like I'm probably like the one person left on the planet who is yet to see this film.
we could put out, spend a whole day one day watching.
yeah.
You'd be falling asleep next week. But yeah. But anyway, but basically, just that it's just about heroism and but heroism in the sense of, not like, oh, look how great I am, but more about people laying down their lives for each other to basically confront evil and stop evil consuming the world. But again, there's many theories on what all these different things mean in it.
Right.
It's so deep that you'd have to really watch it to.
It's not so much a movie. Is it a movie? Maybe it is a movie. Yes, I think probably is a movie. I don't know if anybody remembers the series. No, it wasn't. It was a series called Amazing Stories. It was from the 80s, and it was created by Steven Spielberg. And there was one particular episode within the series called, because it was like an anthology. So it was like one of the episodes was called The Mission. And even then, because I was like, I think I was probably like a teenager, maybe a preteen back then when I first saw it. And even then I was like, oh my gosh, the faith that is in this particular episode, which by the way, you guys, without giving too much away, you can actually, and we'll probably post a link somewhere on because you can actually watch it.
Yeah, Paige said it's on Vimeo.
Yeah, it's on Vimeo. So it's incredible. It's basically faith in the imagination, which pretty much it's hand in hand really when you think about it. And it's incredibly done. It's so moving. It just, every time I see it, it makes me cry, and it gives me so much hope. It's like, it's filled with hope. Yeah, I think it just makes me think like what was going through. I was literally trying to find an interview or something, what the thought process that Stephen had when like developing this, because it's just so
wow.
It's unusual. It's unusual, and a lot of Kevin Costner's in it. Kiefer Sutherland. There's actually some names.
I forgot. Yeah,
there are actually some names in it, and it's just very well done.
And just like the idea in it of, because Paige, we were just talking about it before we started recording, and it'd been great if we could have gotten this on video, because Paige was expressing her full joy about it, and because it's, what's so inspiring about it is it's like, it's a situation in it, we won't give it all away, but it's basically where it's a life or death situation, and this person's imagination literally saves his life and someone else's life.
Others, multiple people's lives. Yeah. And it's incredible, like, honestly, and I honestly, I would honestly recommend that if you guys decide to watch it, it's like 40 minutes long, 45 minutes or something like that. If you decide to watch it, really, I tend to look at it as a true story. I do.
And apply it to your life. What situation in your life would you could you apply it to?
Oh my gosh, yes, because it's incredible. It's incredible. But Mo, okay, you have a few other films.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw out a handful of things. Well, first of all, I'm gonna mention a film that doesn't get talked about a lot, and I was actually surprised Paige knew it. She said it was, a lot of people knew it, but usually when I mention it, no one's heard of it. It's called Powder, and gosh, it was around in the 90s, and it's to me, this character, the main character in it, to me, he's a Christ figure, because he basically shows up and he is completely he's like an albino. He has I don't know how to pronounce it, albinism. And so he's completely ridiculed and misunderstood, and people treat him horribly. He's bullied. All these horrible things happen to him, but his entire presence throughout the entire film is completely nonviolent, and he never retaliates. And he's just this presence, and he's able to heal people, and he's able to just bring healing, and he can do telekinesis and all that stuff. And so people are really threatened by him, because on the one hand they want to make fun of him, but then they see that he has these powers. And I won't say how it ends. I need to watch it again. Anyway, there's a scene in it to me that is, there's these cops and stuff, and they're just like, "What's wrong with you, boy?" and this kind of thing. They're terrible to him. And then this cop who's really mean to him, he's like a hunter. He's one of those typical, macho guy, goes hunting. And the kid, he's out in the forest when they're in the middle of hunting. Oh, it's so beautiful, this scene.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm not spoiling the ending. This is just a scene to showing the character of this person. There's a scene where the hunter guy, he just shot a deer, and the deer is laying there, like gasping for breath, and he goes, the powder guy, he goes over to it, and they're just like, "What are you doing? Get away from that!" And he goes up to it, and he lays his hand on the deer, and he puts his hand on it, and I think he looks at the hunter as he's putting his hand on the deer, and he's putting his hand on the deer while the deer is experiencing all the pain and fear and horror. And he looks right at the guy that shot the deer and the guy, like, he's just like the guy that shot the deer, he's just like having this really weird reaction. And then later when he tells it to somebody, because it completely changes him, and after that he never says anything mean to the kid again. He says, "I don't know what he did, but whatever he did, he put what that deer was feeling, and he put that inside of me, and I felt like," and so he basically force someone to have empathy to
Wow, that's
experience the suffering they were
amazing.
causing.
Oh my
Anyway,
gosh.
that scene for me is like, oh yeah, and how like animals, like when he's in the forest, the animals, like there's this little gecko or something, it just like goes right up his arm
wow.
because he's so connected to his creation.
Oh
Well,
my-
I shouldn't say his creation.
Right. That reminds me so much of just like talking about that reminds me. I don't know if you've ever seen. Have you ever seen the movie The Bless the Beast and the Children?
No,
It was
I
from
mean,
the 70s.
I mean, I know the song. but I
Bless
don't-
the Beast and the children. Was it Karen Carpenter?
Was
And-
it probably?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I probably didn't even know there was a movie.
Yeah.
Oh, was it based on James Harriet? No, that's a different one.
Well, it's funny because this is probably the part that Paulette is probably my sister Paulette is probably really waiting for. Just because just you talking about powder. There was a scene in this movie called Bless the Beast and the Children, and the whole movie was about these kids, these young boys. They wanted to save these buffaloes. That's all I'll say.
I'll look it up.
It's a very
I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle that one.
it's
just from your expression.
it's quite beautiful at the end. But it's very moving, very touching. But
Okay.
get your Kleenex ready.
Okay. Yeah. Don't know that I'll be jumping right into that one anytime soon. And Forrest Gump is another film like that, where there's this, to me, Forrest Gump is like a Christ figure, where he's this pure-hearted person throughout the entire thing, and he affects everyone around him. Like everybody that encounters him is impacted by him and who he is. And he just like he's seen as like dumb or this like the holy fool, you know, and he's seen as dumb or he doesn't know what he's doing, but actually he's much more wise and knows exactly, you know, how to love people, which everybody else doesn't seem to quite know how to do around him. So
I think in terms of like I think another movie that touches me in terms of faith is the movie La La Land. I don't know if many people would actually think about it in terms of faith, but for me it was just the perseverance with the lead female role. I don't remember her name in the film, but
I don't either now.
Yeah, it's like it's so funny.
I know his was Sebastian.
Yeah, because it's just really funny because a few of these films that I was thinking of, it's like I remember how they moved me, how they touched me, but I don't necessarily remember too many details. But I just remember when I went to see this film, I never was interested in seeing this film. In fact, I believe Mo was the first.
Please go see
Mo was the first one who was like, "Oh my gosh, you have to see La La Land." I'm like, "Really?"
And we saw it in this like beautiful theater, which only added to. Remember that that theater?
Yes, but you know, the final straw that actually got me to go see this film was a friend of mine. Another friend of mine was like saying, "Oh, oh, it's one of my favorite films of the year." I'm like, "What?" He said, "La La Land." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm not about that life." Another friend of mine wants me to see it. That being Mo, and he was like, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, "What do you like about it?" He was like, "It's for dreamers." I'm like, "Okay, Mo, let's go see it." As soon as he said that, I'm like, "Okay, Mo, let's go. I'm ready." So yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's a great film.
It is amazing. It's just like that film has everything in it.
Yeah.
Well, and then we're gonna touch on some of this. We're gonna expand on more in another recording. So, Terence Malik.
Yes.
Let's talk about Terence Malik.
Yeah.
If you don't know who Terence Malik is, so I'll just mention a couple of the films. Tree of Life. I mean, the name speaks for itself. Tree of Life. Just watch it. His films they're just visual poetry, and they're just so beautiful, and they always have this element of like faith, spiritual, like how deeply spiritual life is, but then it'll show like the beauty of life, but then you'll also see the suffering of life, and they're always like side by side, you know, like beautiful moments or beautiful imagery. But his cinematography is just, especially if you see it on a big screen, which I hope to God I will see one day soon. But anyway, so Tree of Life, A Hidden Life, highly recommend A Hidden
Yeah.
Life. Please watch it now.
Mhm.
And then I just found out he has a new film coming out called The Way of the Wind, and it is a retelling of stories about Jesus and the disciples. So
Wow, man.
I just cannot even. I'm just embracing myself for how amazing that's going to be.
Very much looking forward to that.
Another film, or I guess wait, it was a film, yeah, because in the book version it was like a series of short stories. The Green Mile.
Yeah, you mentioned I've still have yet to see this movie,
That
but
film.
you used to talk about it a lot back in the day.
I
Yeah.
did. Okay.
Yeah, you would share a lot about it.
It's
Yeah.
very. There's some scenes that are. I mean, I don't know that I'm going to watch it again anytime soon because there's some scenes that are incredibly hard to watch.
Yeah.
But again, it's that thing of having like such beautiful stuff happening in it,
Yeah.
and then such horrible things, and that's actually I think what brings out the beauty more is how the horrible stuff is so horrible.
Yeah.
But it's also about like how how somebody is being misjudged, not only based on the color of their skin, but also on their whole being,
Yeah.
and actually they're completely wrong about that person. That
Yeah.
person's actually the one that can heal everybody's lives. And anyway, it's so powerful. So
Wow.
powerful.
Wow. I mean, the it's funny because a lot of my films, in terms of like, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but another film I think of in terms of there being like a spiritual aspect for me was this Jordan Peele film, Us. Not a lot of people, I don't know. I think people know about Us.
Oh,
Know
yeah.
about it. Yeah, they know.
It's
Okay.
huge.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't been able to get myself to watch it because I know it's probably going to make
Yeah,
me...
I mean, it's probably, there's definitely a creepy aspect to it. But what I really enjoyed about the film, or it was just kind of like these separate worlds, essentially, you know what I mean? Because it was like, I started thinking about, how do you call this thing again? When it's like, I was asking you, what's the term that they,
What are we talking about now?
Us.
I know, but what's the question you're... Oh no, we just talked about
I
it.
know. I can't think of, well, anyway.
No, it was...
I can't think of this term because it's like two different.
Quantum
like
jumping?
Yeah, something like that.
Quantum...
Yeah,
like a quantum universe.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
where two things are existing side by side.
Yes.
Parallel universe.
It's
Yeah?
sort of like that. Yes, exactly. Something like this, because it was like watching this family, this happy family in one world, and then the same family, but in a more dark, it's like a darker realm, so to speak. And it just kind of, it just took me to a place of like, these moments when, you're just like really, really down and just in this very you're like want to complain and just like, you're just always seeing the worst in everything. And then I have to remind myself, no, this is not who I am, and just kind of like changing my perspective and being reminded of who I am in Christ, essentially. And living in that space, you know what I'm saying? So
Living in your true self.
Exactly, because it was just, that's the, when I was watching this film, I was like, this is incredible. And again, I was like saying to Mo, I was like, that probably wasn't the purpose, but this is the thing about art.
So awesome.
It's like, just the interpretation and just how the Holy Spirit speaks to you, and how he can move you through anything. He can, in any type of film or art, it's like.
And also like, because everybody brings a unique experience in life. Their lives are, everybody's coming from a different place. So how they see it or what it means, like, for me, La La Land had a very specific meaning.
Yes.
At the time.
Yeah.
And, but it's.
Yeah, it's just very interesting in terms of like how essentially, again, art just can move you, especially like film and everything.
And film especially, because film is so on so many levels. It's visual. It's mostly visual, but it's also in seeing. I mean, the fact that something is so visual, where you're basically, how do I put this? Where when you're reading a book and you inhabit the characters with them and you're kind of experiencing it. But there's something about with film, it's so powerful, because when you see someone crying or you see someone hurting, or it just is a whole different level to me anyway, because I believe that great writing has that effect in general, but there's something about seeing it where you're just like, you're so absorbed in it that you forget where you are.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because Mo, I've shared, because like, it's funny how I get moved spiritually in some of the things that I watch because it's not like it's not like a common thing. So Mo knows about like I will like message her and tell her about like these reality shows. Like there was one called The Challenge, and I don't know if anybody will even know what this is, but it's a show on MTV, and it's like it's just a lot of information, this show. But it's just these obstacle courses and stuff. But there was this one episode in particular where at the end there's this challenge between this one guy and this other guy, and everybody knew this one guy, this big broody guy, he wins everything. He's huge and everything. And then you had your David, you know what I mean? Who was just like small and everything, but he was so excited because he's getting to compete against this, Goliath, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's just an amazing moment where, again, you guys had to be there, but it's an amazing moment. They go to battle and everybody knew the big guy was going to win. It was just obvious. Mm-hmm. But when the smaller guy, he won this challenge, everybody was in shock. And it was just so, I think the moment that moved me the most is how grateful and appreciative like the small guy was, just even talking. He's like, I'm so happy that I even got, he's like, I'm mad, I'm just, it's just so appreciative. And it's like, I bawled my eyes out, you guys. I had a headache. I was crying so hard.
And then she was crying so hard when she left me a message about it too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, and I actually, you guys, found the guy on Instagram. And I messaged him and I left him a voicemail message, and he actually replied.
I love that.
Yeah, I was it just moved me to tears. It moved me to such
It was getting me, like when you were telling me, I was like,
oh my gosh. And maybe somehow,
made me glad I didn't have to go watch it though, because I was like, I'd rather just hear you tell me.
No, because I was going crazy. I mean, like I told everybody that I can think of about this moment, because it was just it was David and Goliath, you guys. It was it was so obvious that he wasn't going to win this challenge. It was obvious. Mm. Never underestimate the power. Come on, I'm gonna okay, sorry. I had to do a little step.
Little jig.
Okay.
Okay, well.
On that note,
I'm just gonna throw out a couple more films. Two that have kind of a similar idea to them, not completely, you'll see in a minute, is Stranger Than Fiction with Emma Thompson and Will Ferrell, where she's basically a novelist and she's writing a book and she's having writer's block, and Will Ferrell is actually the character that she's writing, and the story is about him, and he's trying to figure out why he keeps hearing these voices, and nobody believes him, that they think he's going crazy and stuff. And then The Truman Show, which also has that idea. I just think it is both of those are great to have a discussion, like a faith and film discussion, in terms of like, like in The Truman Show, how it's almost like the guy, Ed Harris's character, it's like almost like God, right? Yeah. And he's like controlling his life and all this stuff. And then, but you know what I'm saying? It's like the whole thing of free will, like how much is, and that's one of the lines I love so much in Forrest Gump that to me sums up, like when people want to have dialogues about faith and which thing is, I'm just like,
it's like a box of chocolates. No,
well, you can use that if you want. No, but there's a line where Forrest says, I don't know if we're all just floating around accidental lack, or if it's all part of some bigger plan that's all been like already planned. He goes, but I think it's kind of both. And I feel like that is it. It's like, yes, we have free will, but somehow also it's part of a bigger plan, and it all is working together. Just films that are they're exploring such deep themes, but they're not overtly faith films. But I love that, because I love being able to talk to anybody about this, and not just be like, it can only be talked about in a certain group.
It's refreshing to be able to see things, not necessarily even go out of your way to look for these things, but just for things to touch you in a specific way. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really refreshing. And I'm just really appreciative of like, filmmakers and, people who do what they do, because as I said, it's like, it's like your dream is bigger than you. You don't know with this film, with what you're writing, with whatever you're doing, you don't know who it's meant to heal. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like,
that's why I love that thing. I made a meme of what you said last time.
Oh, right. Yeah, when I was like, oh my gosh. because it was.
I love it so much. Paige said, "Your art can be the answer to someone's prayer."
Yeah,
It's just so beautiful how you just don't know how something that you've created is gonna. Maybe somebody was considering ending their life and they saw something you made and it actually makes them want to live and it gives them hope.
And I also just think it's also just a way to kind of take the responsibility away from yourself in the sense of in the sense of like, oh gosh, I just can't do this. It's not, you know what I mean?
Or it's not good enough, and all the perfectionism. It's like, look, just be faithful to the call.
Exactly. Because again, it's bigger than you. You know, it's not only about you, kind of thing. So it's like, but yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing with this discussion because there's something more that we would like to do with this theme, and I'm really this Terence Malik dude, man.
But Terence Malik is I consider him a monk, like a monk with a camera. He's a monk filmmaker. He's it's like Thomas Merton if he were a filmmaker, because he's able to capture life in all of its beauty and pain and hope and despair, but he does it in such a visual way where you're just, and he doesn't even have that much dialogue in the films, and he as a person is really interesting, and I'm really
fascinated by him. We're going to, because I really do want you guys to see The Mission, Amazing Stories. Because seriously, I can't see anyone being disappointed after seeing it. It's so incredible. It's like the hope that it will fill you with. It's just,
and the power of your imagination and all that.
You guys, I'm gonna say, I'll go as far as to say it's based on a true story.
There you go.
It's based on a true story. I'll go as far as to say that.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening and for tuning in. And I just also wanted to throw out, if you've stayed on this long, then I would like to throw out a couple of thank yous, or a few thank yous to some people who have been really supportive, and that is Chrissy, and Angie, and Paulette, people who have commented and taken the time to listen and to comment. We really appreciate it. It really means a lot to us.
Yeah, seriously, you guys, it really does mean a lot, because we really enjoy what we do, and to know that, there are people who are enjoying it and supporting it means the world. So shout out to you
and
guys.
J. Lou for you.
Lit it. So yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Lots of love.